You know it, and we all know it, the world of Peppa Pig has an owner. And it's not the little pig. The one running everything is Miss Rabbit. Are you ready to find out everything this character secretly does behind the backs of her friends and neighbors? Jobs. When we think about Miss Rabbit, the first thing that comes to mind is how many jobs she has. To this day, we've never seen anything in town that didn't have her involvement somehow. And that's pretty strange because she works so much that it seems like she doesn't have any time at all to enjoy life with her friends or family. She even won an award where the Queen said she's the hardest working person in all of England. But honestly, that award should have been for the hardest working person in the world. Tell me, do you know anyone who works more than Miss Rabbit? Of course not. And everyone always wonders why she has so many jobs. Well, we know the answer, and believe me, it's worse than you think. Today, we're going to show you that Miss Rabbit actually has plans for all of her 40+ jobs, and today's video is absolutely amazing. Stay tuned because another Cinewave full of new stuff is starting now. Television. In the episode Land of Television, Peppa almost discovered that she's actually living in a reality show, which, for those who don't know, is a type of TV show where several cameras record a person 24 hours a day. Peppa and her family live in a show just like that, and we know this because in one scene of that episode, when the little pig introduces herself, it's as if she's saying the opening lines of the series. But that's not even the strangest part. Miss Rabbit controls the town's TV network, maybe even the world's. But why would she want to own all the communication on planet Earth? The answer is very simple. Miss Rabbit has a plan to deceive everyone. She wants to lie about everything happening in the world so that people never find out that she's making money from the entire planet. And do you know why? Miss Rabbit is actually the boss of all the other characters, and they have no idea. Every single company belongs to her, which means Rebecca Rabbit's aunt gets paid by everyone in the Peppa Pig world. But wait, what does TV have to do with all this? Miss Rabbit uses television and Mr. Potato's show to fool people. They don't realize they work for her because there's no, and there never will be, a single piece of news exposing the truth to the citizens of Peppa Land, which is Peppa's hometown, the Queen. In every episode where Peppa visits the Queen, Miss Rabbit is there. And that's a very important detail, because in the story about the visit to London, Diana Rabbit rings the palace doorbell and reveals a shocking secret. She says the Queen gave Miss Rabbit permission to visit the palace anytime she wants, without having to ask. In other words, Rebecca's aunt can walk into the royal castle whenever she feels like it, with no problem at all. But that's odd, isn't it? How can an ordinary person just walk into the palace whenever she wants? The truth is that both the Queen and Miss Rabbit are very close friends. But there's another theory, one that says Miss Rabbit might actually be the Queen's boss. And if you think that's impossible, remember that the Queen in Peppa's world doesn't have any family. She lives completely alone in that huge palace. Miss Rabbit controls the entire world, and the fact that the Queen has no relatives only proves it. Think about it. When the Queen passes away, who's going to sit on that throne? Of course it's going to be Miss Rabbit. That's if Miss Rabbit isn't already the Queen. If that's true, then that sweet old lady sitting on the throne is just an actress pretending to be the ruler of everyone. So, what do you think of this theory? Would you like to work for Miss Rabbit? Comment #rabbit so we can get to know you. Tunnels. Have you ever noticed there's a big lie being told in Peppa's town? In the episode The Flood, we finally learn why all the houses are built on top of hills. When it rains, Peppa's entire town floods. So the houses and buildings were built high up on hills to stop the rain from sinking the city, which makes sense. But there's one big problem. Rebecca Rabbit's house is inside a hole full of tunnels, and we find out that rabbits live this way because they prefer being underground. But wait, how do they protect themselves from the rain if the whole town turns into a giant lake whenever it pours? The answer will blow your mind. The truth is that the rabbits have tunnels that go everywhere, even inside people's houses. We've already proven that Miss Rabbit spies on the main characters through her TV show, and these tunnels help her do it. The rabbits have tunnels that lead all over the world, but they don't actually live in them because when it rains, everything gets flooded. They definitely have some hidden mansion somewhere, and that's the big secret. They've dug holes all over the planet. And if you doubt it, just remember that Miss Rabbit somehow manages to be in several places at the same time. Clones. Speaking of all the places where Miss Rabbit appears, did you know she actually has copies of herself all over the world? The Miss Rabbit from New York even said there's one of her in every city across the planet, meaning there are thousands of her. But have you ever wondered what that really means? There are two creepy theories that could explain it. The first says Miss Rabbit has millions of clones scattered around the globe so she can control every company and make tons of money. That would be easy for Grandpa Rabbit to do since he's such a great scientist.
The other theory suggests that Miss Rabbit's copies might actually be robots, and the real Miss Rabbit is the one who lives in Peppa's town. Whichever theory you believe, we know one thing for sure. All these copies exist for only one reason. They want to take over the world, one city at a time. Of course, with so many businesses to manage, Miss Rabbit would need helpers. And who better to help her than herself? That's exactly why this character has so many copies. Money. But what exactly does Miss Rabbit do with all that money? The answer will blow your mind. If she works in every store and runs everything, then she's definitely the richest person around. Miss Rabbit needs all that money because she wants to take over the rest of the universe. Yes, and Grandpa Rabbit is the proof. Miss Rabbit's father owns a rocket, and he loves traveling into space. In the episode Trip to the Moon, we find out how the entire Rabbit family is already preparing to conquer the rest of the universe. Peppa and her family visit the museum, which is managed by Miss Rabbit, and there our little pig sees everything they've been planning. Traveling to the moon is really expensive, and that's why Miss Rabbit needs so much money. If there are other planets to rule, then that's exactly what she'll do. And if you think she hasn't already started putting her master plan into action, you should see the store she owns in space. There's a scene in one of Peppa's bedtime stories that shows Miss Rabbit already selling things on the moon. So yeah, she's definitely planning to take over the universe. Ever thought about always having new animation content on your feed? Just subscribe and hit the bell.
Clothes and food. Now, do you know how exactly Miss Rabbit controls everyone? Let's go back to the episode George's New Clothes, when she tried to sell a wool coat to the little pig. But wait, is that really all? Yes, it's exactly what you're thinking. If the coat is made of wool, then Miss Rabbit used sheep to make that piece of clothing. What would Susie's family have to say about that? That must be why Susie Sheep doesn't have a dad. And we've never seen a single ram in Peppa's world. All the male sheep are probably locked away on one of Miss Rabbit's farms so she can use their wool. All because she wants to sell wool clothes. And there's another problem. In Peppa's world, the animals drink milk and eat cheese. And what does that mean? Of course, they buy all of it from Miss Rabbit's supermarket. The milk must come from her farm, which is definitely owned by her. But wait, whose cow is the milk from? In the show, there's a Mrs. Cow, and she has a daughter that we've seen in several episodes. Could it be that Rebecca's aunt actually locks up some characters on her farms and takes everything she needs from them to sell later? Museums. Have you ever noticed that Miss Rabbit and her family run every museum in the world? She's the head of the History Museum, she runs the Science Museum, and even manages the museums on the moon and the dinosaur exhibits. Do you know what that means? Miss Rabbit controls the entire history of the world. She's the one who decides what's right and wrong. This character could even trick people by teaching things that never actually happened. And if you think that's an exaggeration, guess who runs the town library? Exactly, Miss Rabbit. She also controls which books people get to read. Are you sure the history of the world you know isn't actually a giant lie told by Miss Rabbit? Airports. As if controlling history and television weren't enough, Miss Rabbit also has power over the airports, meaning she controls who gets to enter or leave every country in the world. That alone should be enough to make you terrified of Miss Rabbit, but she's also the one who drives the taxi for anyone who needs to travel but doesn't have a car. And yes, Miss Rabbit is also a pilot and a tour guide in every city around the globe. She's the one who took the pig family to New York. If you were a character in Peppa Pig, Miss Rabbit wouldn't just control your job, she'd control your vacations too. She really is the most powerful character in the entire show. Rescues. Now that you already know this character has everything she wants, it's time to understand that she also decides who lives and who dies. In the episode Born in the Hospital, we find out that she's the nurse who decides who gets treated. And in the firefighter episode, we discover she's also in charge of rescuing people in danger, which means Miss Rabbit has control over everyone's lives, maybe even yours. It's scary to think about. But don't worry, take the chance and watch the 2 videos we left on the screen. I'm sure you'll have fun. See you soon.